First of all, this is tricky. I mean, it just is. The compression and the shift is tricky. And as I was looking back at that quiz problem, I really had to think about it for a while. At first, I was like, well, the maximum for sine happens at pi halves, and this shift is telling me to shift right pi sixths, then wouldn't I end up at 2 pi thirds? But what I was forgetting about is that the compression needed to happen, then the shift. So that's kind of the order that we're thinking about this in: compression, then shift. So let's just do the analysis, right? Okay, so we know the period here, B equals 8, so 8 equals 2 pi over t, that means t equals 2 pi eighths, which is pi fourths, right?
Right, that's what I have, yes.
So this is going to be this is happening fast, because basically it's happening 8 times in a normal cycle, right? Think about think about sine, the way sine looks. This is sine, this is 2 pi. We're doing this 8 times. So this is my maximum in pi halves. This is pi fourths here. One cycle is happening in here, really fast. And probably what I would need to know to make that shift is that, okay, so I want my maximum here, and then I want to shift it to the left 4 units. That's how I would find the maximum if I want to track this particular point. I need to shift 4 units from here. And as you said, that's going to leave me with something that's a little unsatisfying, which is a mixture of pi and a regular number.
Right, I have pi over 8 minus 4, or like pi fourths minus 4. And I was like, I don't know what that number is. And as I was getting my data points to go left or right, they were all at a repetition of periodic of pi 4, and they were nasty. So I was like, what do I do? I didn't want, so I was like, well, what do I do with that?
State that maximum and minimum y values and their corresponding x values on one period from x is greater than 0. Yeah, and so that's also kind of disgusting, because this particular period, which is an the easiest one to think about, is not above 0. So that's terrible, because then I got to get over here and think about, where am I going to find the first point, or just one thing that's bigger. So I'll just work through it myself. This is just my way of thinking about it, but there's other ways you could attack it. So first of all, I want to make sure that I have this point correct. I would double check everything I do with Desmos calculator or something to just kind of verify I'm on the right track, because I don't want to build my thinking off of mistakes. The first thing is, what is this point? This is the compression with no shift. This was sitting at pi 2. It's been compressed by a factor of 8. I actually think this should be at pi 16ths. You were saying pi fourths or pi eighths or something. I'm just going to check in Desmos to see if the compression, my thinking about this compression is correct. So I'm going to go Desmos.
I'm sorry, compression. What is that? A, B, C, or D? That's A? Or no, is that B? Because I guess I was trying to do it from the explanation that the book was giving us by basically saying that you're supposed to find A, B, C, and D values off of this information, which I did. But then I guess as you're trying to interpret the values off of each other, they don't mix well enough to actually get a really nice easy answer. So I don't, like when you're talking about, I found the compression, I was like, I don't necessarily know what value that
is. The horizontal compression would be B.
B, okay, yes, okay, great.
Right? Because that, in terms of transformations, the inside multiplier is going to be the thing that either shrinks or stretches our horizontal component.
So you're saying for this question, B is 8, right?
B is 8, correct.
Okay, great, okay.
So I got 8 plus 4 plus 5. Okay, so this is the picture. And all I'm trying to do right now is really focus on the non-shifted version of this to make sure I'm making sense of it. So I'm taking out the +4. I'm going to undo this red one. I'm going to kind of zoom in here. Actually, I'm going to work with my wrench over here and change my x-axis. I have to start at 0, and I'm going to have it go up to pi. I'm going to make my steps in terms of pi 16ths. Okay. So that picture tells me that I was correct, and I know that this is hard to see on the whiteboard, but I was thinking that my new maximum would be at pi 16ths. That's without the translation. Where did I get pi 16ths from? Because I knew that in the regular sign it was pi halves. I know I have a compression factor of 8, so I'm taking my pi halves and dividing by 8. Pi halves divided by 8. How do I execute that operation? You guys can you even see that? This is, again, another example of where fractions are popping up. What's pi halves divided by 8? How do I execute it?
Keep flip change. So
Keep change.
keep change.
So pi halves times,
1 over.
and that's pi 16. So that's where my pi 16 came from. And in fact, that's what I'm seeing here. This top is at the x value of pi 16. Now I'm going to shift it back 4 units. Now that doesn't look like 4 units, but that's because there's so many repeated humps that it's probably more like, you know, what a full pi would be like 17. So it's probably, oh my God, it's hurts my head. This blue one over here, maybe, or even this one, has gone all the way back over here. Let's just check that out. What is the value here? 21 pi 16ths. What's 21 pi 16ths minus 4? Calculator, stop, please. Is it 0 point something? Or do we need to go bigger? 21 pi 16ths minus 4. So we got to shift to the left 4. You get that one?
My bad. It didn't work.
Oh, why? What you get?
Well, it just came in there.
I don't want to do that.
To 21 times
21 pi 16ths
minus 4.
minus 4.
I got 0.12.
Yeah.
I got that too.
0.12 something something, right? So we put this on. What I'm saying is that this point here shifted all the way. Why don't I have a little bit there? This point here shifted all the way back to here. And my hypothesis is that this point should be about 0.12. Let's see if Desmos will tell us what this point is. 0.123. 8. Okay, so without Desmos, how am I going to get from this? I can subtract 4, and then I can get the point back here, but it has to be for a maximum with x greater than 0, right? So really, I need to kind of like hop forward multiple things. And I can go, I don't have to get the first one. I could get as far out as I want. But remember that basically I'm gonna have maximums starting at pi/16 every pi/4. So you keep adding pi/4 until I get myself out of the hole. I'm gonna need to subtract 4 eventually, because that's the shift. But this is gonna take me, this is my first maximum, my second maximum, my third maximum, my fourth maximum, my fifth maximum, -4 gives me a coordinate point. And I know that the maximum is at 8 because of the midline and the amplitude. So I don't know if that answered your question, James. This is a pretty disgusting question, to be honest. Real nasty.
So-
I'm not gonna
so
be.
I mean, it really didn't. I mean, because I guess, I mean, so what you found was because essentially you're trying to find what the value of the maximum is and then shift it, as opposed to I was trying to get them in the same. Okay, I understand. Yes, is find out where it is first and then shift, as opposed to trying to get it where it is shifted, where it's already. Like I guess I was trying to get I was trying to find the values after they had already been shifted.
Yes, I think one key insight is to do the compression first, then think about putting the shift on. And that comes in the factor form, which it gave you. If it's unfactored, you really need to factor it first. That can be applied to our problem here. Right? We're going to see the shift more clearly once we factor it. Also, in the context of practicing, don't be afraid to use Desmos or your graphing calculator, but I think Desmos is more powerful. It takes a little bit of practice, and I'm happy to, if you have questions about how to use it, and these videos that I post from class are not enough, send me a question and say, show me an example of how to use Desmos to analyze, 3 sine pi/4, a problem out of the book or something, and I can just make a video on how to use Desmos.